All right, moving on to 23.2. Again, we're on the goals relate the structure and function of each of the major plant organs and tissues to physiological processes. This Gary Larson is in honor of Mrs. Nemeth. I asked you a question, buddy. What's the square root of 5,246? It's the only one I could come up with that has actually the root in it, too, for roots. So we're talking about roots in this lesson. All right, so our objectives are to describe the main tissues of mature root and describe the functions of roots, too. All right, so can you guess how large a typical plant's root system is? The study of a single rye plant showed that the length of all the branches in the root system was an astonishing 663 kilometers or 412 miles. The surface area of this root was more than 600 square meters, which was 130 times greater than that combined areas of its stems and leaves. That is pretty amazing. So our first objective is to describe the main tissues in mature root. As soon as a seed begins to sprout, it puts out its first roots to draw in water and nutrients from the soil. Rapid cell growth pushes the tips of the growing roots into the soil. The new roots provide raw materials for the developing stems and leaves before they emerge from the soil. And there are two main types of root systems. There are taproot systems and fibrous root systems. Taproot systems are found mainly in dicots. Fibrous root systems are found mainly in monocots. If the primary root grows long and thick and gives rise to smaller branch roots, the large primary root is called a taproot, as you can see right here. All right. Taproots of oak and hickory trees grow so long that they can reach water several meters below the surface. For example, a dandelion has a short, thick taproot that stores sugars and starches in it too. In other plants, such as grasses, the system begins with one primary root, but as soon as it is soon replaced by many equally sized small branch roots that grow separately from the base of the stem. The extensive fibrous root systems produced by many plants help prevent topsoil from being washed away by heavy rain. As seen in the figure, the mature root has an outside layer of dermal tissue called the epidermis, as we learned before, and also contains vascular tissue and a large area of ground tissue also. The root system plays a key role in the mineral and water and mineral transport. The root's epidermis, as you can see labeled there, performs the dual functions of protection and absorption. Its surface is covered with a thin cellular projections called root hairs, which penetrate the spaces between the soil particles and produce a large surface area that allows water and minerals to enter. Just inside the epidermis is a region of tissue called the cortex, right here. Water and minerals move through the cortex from the epidermis toward the center of the root. The cortex also stores the products of photosynthesis, such as starch, too. A layer of ground tissue called the endodermis, is completely encloses the vascular cylinder. The endodermis plays an essential role in the movement of water and minerals into the center of the root. At the center of the root, the xylem and the phloem together make up a region called the vascular cylinder. Dicot roots, like the ones shown in the figure, have a central column of xylem cells. You can see right there. Roots grow in length with apical, I hate saying that word, meristems produce new cells near the root tips. A tough root cap protects the meristems as the root tip forces its way through the soil, secreting a slippery surface substance that eases the progress of the root through the soil. Cells at the tip of the root cap then are constantly being scraped away, and the new root cap cells are continually added. So these are like protective ones, and this is the apical meristems ones here. All right, so our first objective for this lesson was to describe the main tissues in the mature root. So the mature root has an outside layer, like the epidermis, and also contains vascular tissues and a large area of ground tissue, too. You know what each one does, though. All right, describe the different functions of the roots. All right, Soil is a complex mixture of sand, silt, clay, air, and bits of decaying animal and plant tissue. Soil in different places contains varying amounts of these ingredients. The ingredients define the soil and determine, to a large extent, the kinds of plants that can grow in it. To grow, flower, and produce seeds, plants require a variety of inorganic nutrients. The nutrients needed in the largest amounts are nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, magnesium, and calcium. The functions of these essential nutrients within a plant are described here. So you can see if you don't have enough nitrogen, it's going to get a short plant, and you're going to have like yellowing leaves too. So become familiar with this chart. Small amounts of nutrients called trace elements are also important, and these trace elements include sulfur, iron, zinc, boron, copper, manganese, and chlorine too. As important as they are, excessive amounts of any of these nutrients in the soil can also be poisonous to the plants too. The cell membranes of root hairs and other cells in the root epidermis contain active transport proteins. Active transport, they're pumping things in and out, all right, in the root epidermis. Active transport brings the mineral ions, dissolved nutrients from the soil into the plant. So now you have a high concentration of those mineral ions in the plant, causing the water molecules to move into the plant by osmosis. Wonderful thing, isn't it? By using active transport to accumulate mineral ions from the soil, cells of the epidermis create conditions under which osmosis causes water to follow those ions and then flow into the root, as shown in this figure, as you can see there. Next, the water and the dissolved minerals pass through the cortex and move toward the vascular cylinder, this area here. The cylinder is enclosed by a layer of cortex cells known as the endodermis, which we talked about. Where the cells of the endodermis meet, the cell walls form a special waterproof zone called the Casparian strip, right there. The Casparian strip forces water and minerals to move through the cell walls, cell membranes of the endodermis, rather than in between them. This enables the endodermis to filter and control the water and dissolve nutrients that enter the vascular cylinder. Pretty handy. The Casparian strip also ensures that valuable nutrients will not leak back out. And as a result, there's a one-way passage of water and nutrients into the vascular cylinder. As the minerals are pumped into the vascular cylinder, more and more water follows by osmosis, producing a strong osmotic pressure. Contained within the Casparian strip, the water has just one place to go, up. Root pressure produced within the cylinder by active transport forces water through the vascular cylinder into the xylem. I'm going to go back over here. Into the xylem, and as water moves from the cortex into the vascular cylinder, more water in the xylem is forced upward through the root into the stem. In this setup, as you can see here, a glass tube takes the place of the carrot, stem, and leaves. And as the root absorbs of the carrot, the water, root pressure forces water upward into the tube. Pretty cool. All right, so describe the different functions of roots. Roots support a plant, anchor it to the ground, store food, and absorb water and dissolve nutrients from the soil. Our objectives, again, the main tissues in the mature root, and describe the functions of the root, which we just discussed. It all helps to support our goal of the major plant organs and tissues. And there's a cute picture for you. Enjoy.